So today I watched another action thriller, which considering the last one was yes, so-called Olympus Has Fallen, which completely besmirches Greek mythology. Thank you very much. Um, I didn't have much hope for this one. I went into it thinking it would be yet another one, and it wasn't. I mean, it was still an action thriller ultimately, so not exactly. But they tried. I mean, I read the trivia about the actors and director saying, and guess what? The movie had a script. Oh wow, what a revelation! You, one would think that only unscripted nonsense like Olympus Has Fallen would be popular at this, and well, that might be true still. I'm not entirely sure. So this one it was called Bastille Day. It was known as the Take, and came out in 2016. Now, what's confusing is the budget. Yeah, uh, Wikipedia says it's 4 million, but IMDb says and they're both user contributed. So no idea which is which really. If it's 4 million though, it would have made profit. Since it made it seems both agree that it's nearly 15 million in box office. But if it's 20 million as IMDb says, then it didn't. Either way, it clearly made much less than Olympus Has Fallen. So here we have it, people. People, as it happens, the movie-going people like nonsense. Clearly, they prefer nonsense. So the more nonsensical a film is, yep, there we go. The more it rakes in. Of course, I did think that every action thriller would, you know, because I've seen some other before this as well. Before Olympus Has Fallen as well, and it was raked in 50 million or something. But no, maybe not all. Maybe the better ones don't. I suppose. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, this had a story, right? This had twists and turns. They actually tried. I mean, for all the sort of expectations that twists have. As soon as a twist happens, it's always you know they even have these sort of mini twists up until the end. I prefer a movie with twists if there's nothing else than have a twist, especially if it's just some action movie, which, I mean, action movies are known for their intricate dialogue. Didn't have exactly intricate dialogue, but compared to Olympus Has Fallen, it's Shakespeare, really. And yet, of course, that one is more popular and it's quite something. But no, what it did was interesting. Everything was interesting. Kind of it made me use a slight bit of brain matter, which obviously Olympus Has Fallen did none whatsoever of. The first time I saw when that police guy entered, you know, I didn't immediately notice that it's just the police being corrupt. It took me a couple of seconds. I'm just saying, when that happens in action movies, brilliant, because at least there's something, it's as opposed to, oh, bad guy versus good guy, great, wow. I mean, you can't even call Olympus Has Fallen predictable because It's not predictable. It's more like a slide and just descends it and that's it. Wow, great, congrats, you've descended a slide. It's not even. It doesn't do anything that is predictable. It doesn't even try. That's the point. Whereas with this, yeah, was interesting. I mean, I didn't figure out they were the police before they were introduced as the Rapid team, so-called Rapid team, and it was interesting. And obviously, then they were a bit obviously the fact that they trusted the internal affairs, I think they were called, or no, they trusted director of the DGSI. Um, yeah, obviously that's a bit, they shouldn't have, I should have never done that, obviously, but then of course, though, that's the thing. I mean, it's where the predictability lies, really. That's what happens in the van, because well, one can sort of tell that that they're not going to just be dealt with, and that's it. Um, Frankly, I'm not even sure why they took in the CIA agent. I mean, unless they had no idea about who he was, what he did, and how he operated. It's really asking for trouble. Because if they took the other two, they could have uh, possibly accomplished their so-called mission. But yeah, it was interesting. There were a few spots though that I didn't quite understand. Like, for example, why they wanted people there, wanted protesters specifically. I mean, they kept saying that they want chaos, but um, well, I suppose I sort of understand now after just a bit of thinking. But you see, an action movie that makes you think a bit is always good, isn't it? Of course it is. And yeah, so I suppose they wanted protesters, so other police, non-corrupted police, would be distracted, presumably. But then I read that the National Bank is closed on Bastille Day, so I'm not entirely sure why. Mm, yeah, well, I suppose yes. So yeah, they needed protesters. I'm assuming. Not sure why I didn't realize this before, but yeah, as an excuse to put in their corrupted police team, rapid team. Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Well, it is um, interesting as much as action movies can be interesting. Um, it, I mean, it's not exactly. It is somewhat similar to the likes of a V for Vendetta because of the content matter, but and V for Vendetta also has some sort of action in this sense, and protesters and V himself going around, and so it's similar to that extent, but I don't know. V for Vendetta has something more transcendental than, but still, I mean. People seem to like V for Vendetta, and I agree with its likability, if you call it that. But uh, frankly, I'm a bit annoyed that this. I mean, I'm not saying action movies are generally the best thing ever, but overall, this was one of the better ones, I thought. And yet, apparently, on average, um, I mean, it's been seen by far fewer people than Olympus Has Fallen. Despite that, I mean, regardless, anyway, yeah, it's been rated point 0.2 less. No, point 0.2, it's not much, is it? But it's still kind of annoying that an actually better action thriller is somehow I mean, Olympus Has Fallen is one of the worst things ever, right? I know it's rated 6.5. If I could have rated it -5, I would have. But uh, I mean, yeah, just I, people apparently clearly prefer constant nonsense. I don't know. I can just imagine people saying, "Oh, this has too much talk. Downvote." Yeah. Anyway. It was interesting. Everything that happened was interesting. I mean, it still was violent, like Olympus Has Fallen was, just not as much. And sure enough, it had more narrative than violence. So I'm assuming that's the reason most people didn't go and watch it. It's not so much the rating, I suppose, it's more the fact that it's really not been seen. But I mean, relatively it has, 36,000 raters here. But, in comparison to Olympus Has Fallen, nothing really. Unfortunately, yeah, that's so is the this thing, I suppose. Just random people rating randomly. I don't know, just one of those things, I suppose. I mean, you know. So Olympus Has Fallen was seen by 200,000 more people. So I suppose I don't know, just one of those things. Well, the worse something is, the more it's seen. Suppose I don't know. But I mean, the fact that it made about a profit of 100 million is just absolutely bizarre. When maybe they should have just totally not have had a script. It probably would have made even more profit. It's like, oh yeah, maybe just have a gun, just shoot, just continuously, and wow, must, millions of people go watch a gun just shooting. Oh, just I don't know. I don't think I can even satirize it. It's beyond satire. I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm not a fan of action movies generally. I just watch them in one's downtime per se. But this is the thing. I mean, after watching Olympus Has Fallen, it's made such a bad impact in my mind that yeah, especially the action movie I watched straight after. I just thought it would also be absolute nonsense. In fact, I was wondering why I started another action movie. No, it actually was interesting. Or maybe I don't know. Maybe it's a distinction between international action thrillers and, unfortunately, yes, American ones. I mean, maybe that's too much of a stereotype, but you know, I mean, as I said, though, even like you know, even even SWAT, which I watched earlier, wasn't really very good, but it had more of a script at least than Olympus Has Fallen. So then as I wondered, I wondered whether it might have something to do with the years. The more years pass, the less complex action movies become, possibly. Well, of course, um, this movie here, was released 3 years after Olympus Has Fallen, so it's not quite just time, is it? Not just when it concerns action movies in general, at least. So yeah, maybe it's just the fact that I mean, it is apparently a British director, but many apparently someone Baldwin though wrote the script. So I'm not entirely sure if he's related to the Baldwin family, but it was an international cooperation of some sort at any rate. So maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. It's certainly far more. I mean, in comparison, it's not exactly the most complex thing ever. Yeah, but comparison to this, wow, anything is more complex to be fair. You know, even just some random thing with no dialogue that just, I mean, you know, because I mean, it had some dialogue, but not exactly anything interesting whatsoever. This, on the other hand, yeah, I mean, it has some lines to be expected, you know, like the two protagonists mocking each other and such at the end, for example. You know, it's sort of to be expected. But otherwise, the story of Rome from a bird's eye point of view, sort of, is interesting. You know, I mean, not incredibly but yeah, it was interesting. You know, everything that happened. You know, I mean, you know, ultimately, you know, just pure dramas are still interesting on their own, but this had its own drama, one could say, I suppose, and you know, it relates to geopolitics, I suppose, one could say. Yeah, but otherwise, so it's still interesting, and it did have a bit of a V for Vendetta vibe, as you said, not exactly as awesome as that was, but I don't know, maybe. I mean, obviously, this did have more violence, but V for Vendetta still had some. It's just a vibe anyway, mainly. It's not exactly the same or anything. Um, but as I said before, that was more about the ideas rather than specific scenarios. So maybe that's the main difference ultimately. Sure.